Well, welcome to the November 22nd, 2022 session of TangerineSDR ham side technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and this week I've been kind of dealing with some family stuff, so that kind of took most of my time. So that's about it for me. Next on the list is Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thank you very much, Dave. Well, as I said before we started recording, I've been very busy doing a lot of work on another Living with a Star project. I'm supposed to be writing an ARRL book chapter. I'm going to be, let's see, I'm also, I was working with some of the digital RF data that Bill gave me. I was trying to turn that into a course project. I ended up giving up on that a little bit and changing the course project a little bit, but I now have a newfound appreciation for some of the work Bill has been doing with that digital RF data. And I feel like I'm in a better position to talk with him about it now, but I do have a newfound appreciation. And then I guess a big announcement is Christina Collins is now Dr. Christina Collins. She has passed her thesis dissertation defense this past Friday. And I am working on writing an announcement, which I now have in draft form, that will go on the HamSci website and listserv very shortly, maybe within the next 20 minutes or so. So back to that.
Good. Well, next on the list is Michael, AA8K. Go ahead, Michael. Oh, Mike. Okay, his mic doesn't work. Next on the list is Bill Engelkey, AB4EJ. JE. No, EJ. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening, Dave. Good evening to the net. Had a good weekend because worked November sweepstakes, worked a clean sweep, worked about almost 700 Qs, and that's what it took. The very last stubborn section to get was Newfoundland, but I managed to find them, and at that point I said, okay, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. So anyway, on this project, I found out an interesting thing. I've been building up a grape to have all of the goodies on it, but I found out that the power supply, maybe it's I don't know what you call the power capabilities of the Raspberry Pi, will not simultaneously support the new magnetometer and the Adafruit GPS and a sound card and connection to an external hard drive. Whenever you plug in all those at once, it kills the system. So I'm thinking what I need is a powered USB hub. So I have ordered one of those. So we'll see if we can get all of those accessories running. And I used to run all of this stuff, but I think I can't even imagine that this is the case, but it's almost like there's something different about the new magnetometer. It's pulling more current or something. I don't know, but anyway, so that was the little discovery of the week. So I mean, I got the magnetometer running and it's collecting data, but if you try and run all the accessories at once, the Raspberry Pi cannot handle it. It dies and you have to reboot, and it will not come up with everything plugged into it. So you get USB connectivity errors when it tries to boot. So anyway, that's a new discovery, but anyway, we'll get that figured out. So back to net.
Very good. And I want to thank Bill. Last Monday, he helped me get my magnetometer sending data to both Alabama and to the Linode. So another dot on the personal space weather station map. So next on the list, we have Bob N5BRG. Go ahead, Bob.
Hello to everyone in the group. staying real busy here, mostly repairing things that are breaking on me. I've been in this house for about 10 years now, and it seems like I'm at the point that things are all crapping out. But anyway, I've got several little projects going. I have about 3 of those great boards that I purchased and put together and still haven't got on the air yet. So I'm interested listening to you talk about that. That's one of my goals, to get those running. And I have 2 or 3 other projects sort of for AMSAT and Sarah that I've been staying busy with as well, because I'm involved in all these different organizations. But and it's been a little bit cold, and it looks like over the Thanksgiving holidays we're going to have rain for 3 or 4 days, so I can't get outside and do some of the antenna work that I have on my agenda here. But anyway, I'm not any different than anybody else, I guess. Got a lot of things to do and not enough time to get them done, even though I'm retired, which is hard to believe. Back to you, Dave.
Okay, very good. And next on the list, let's see, would be David, KE5, DPZ. Go ahead,
Do we
David.
have any relays for District 14 North? Over.
David, you're coming through on another net. Well, I don't know what
And
David's.
this is Whiskey 5 Romy, that control for the Texas Series net. Gonna just
I just muted him.
Okay. David, when you get done with your net, come and talk to us. Next on the list is Gary, AF8A. Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Good to see all the familiar faces and a few new. Not too much new here, been working a little bit on the Solar Eclipse QSO Party web pages. Made a little bit of progress there, and I've started working on my 10 megahertz receiving loop again. So getting some time in the workshop again. That's about it. Back to net.
Very good. Next on the list is Jim, K4BSC. Go ahead, Jim.
Good evening, all. And Bob, I sympathize with you. After I retired, I should have had all sorts of time on my hands, and just doesn't seem to be there. I don't know what happens to it, but it seems to go away. And I don't understand it. Anyway, what have I been doing at ham radio? Not a whole heck of a lot. Had some family things. Took me out of town for a few days, although it was fun. And then trying to get ready for Thanksgiving, get the house cleaned up a little bit. So there's not a whole lot of time left for ham radio, but catch can. And back to net, K4BSE.
Very good. And next on the list is David, N1HAC. David, sounds like you've been busy.
A little bit. Well, work-wise, we're kind of on hiatus for our AM Doppler project because Dartmouth is now on break, but working diligently on the Antarctic Power Project, working on the telemetry system for that right now. But yes, I've been chiming in on the debugging for the on the development system, and I'll let Tom talk mostly to that. He's been doing the lion's share of the work right now, but we've been chasing down some interesting bugs in the circuit board. So hopefully that'll be up and running and giving us data soon. So back to net.
Yes.
Oh, and it's cold here.
Oh, I will say that on the email, David sent out an alternate wiring jumper spot for the repairing the GPS development board. So I don't know if that got beyond the mail list or not.
No, well, I sent it to those of us.
Do you want me to put
working
it
on it.
on the
You can put it on,
website?
certainly. It's a
Okay.
shorter patch than what Tom had shown us.
Okay, I will.
And yeah, it turns out another bug is right next door to it.
Yes, I saw some of that information. Next on the list is, let's see, James, K4 DSG. Go ahead, James.
Evening, Dave and the group. Not much going on here. I got a short week at work and then I've got 5 days of vacation. So I'm going to have some time on my hands and maybe get caught up. Back to the net.
Okay. Next after that is Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I can sure second retiring and being very busy, busier than when I was working. Other than that, collecting data from the grape and also been monitoring the 630 meter band. And we've got a little bit of a problem there. There's a signal that keeps coming up fairly strong here in Flagstaff. And we cannot decode it, have no idea where it's coming from. And of course, the FCC might have something to say about unidentified transmissions. Back to you, Dave.
Well, very good. Sounds like a interesting sleuthing problem. Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. I had fairly busy week, but not a lot going on. Unfortunately, I missed the SAQ transmission due to a GPS malfunction. So what happened was that the GPS just stopped outputting a pulse per second signal. I don't know why, because I had this thing running at home for well over 2 years, outputting a pulse per second signal and not having any problems whatsoever. And it just stopped outputting a pulse per second signal the night before the SAQ transmission. But before that, everything was fine. I was able to capture their test transmission. I still have yet to go through the data to see if there was any received power that was above the noise. But unfortunately, I missed the whole transmission. I had planned on switching the system over to NTP timing just in case this happened. But I forgot to do it in time and I completely missed it. So the next hope is that SAQ has their Christmas Eve transmission. I don't know if they're going to. I would hope, but I don't know since they already did it. So we'll see. In the meantime, I contacted Novatech through email. I'm probably gonna have to call them. What I would like to get is replacements for the GPS modules. For the time being, I have Res SMT X. I have a Res SMT X, which is a previous generation that only supports the GPS constellation. That's a drop-in replacement. So I could use that for the time being. I just got to coordinate with Nathaniel to come down and put it in. I would also like to clear away some weeds and tall grass from the antenna just to keep it maintained, and there's no ways that the any energy coupling into the antenna gets shunted to ground. But also I have a updated or or some more guidance on a bash script that can do a backup and archival of VLF data. The one that Rob Weisler wrote, it doesn't necessarily have any protection if something goes wrong, because it'll delete the file. So Paul suggested some safeguards and even implemented, or he uses one of his scripts. So what I want to do is I want to try his and see how well his works. And his archive and delete operations are done in separate commands, and that's probably the safest way to do it to ensure that no files get deleted if something were to go wrong. But on a positive note, I got my my electronics bench set up. I got all my soldering tools and everything already, so I'm all ready to go. So I'm gonna be picking up on my Ednot rig and getting that fully assembled and working, and also the 3-channel the 3-channel VLF system and the H field receiver. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Okay, well, next on the list is Michael, AC0G. Go ahead, Michael.
Good evening, everybody. Not much to report from a ham radio point of view. I'm revising my shed completely, moving it from one spot to another, so I'm pretty much off the air. So back to net.
Very good. And next on the list is Tom in 5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, good evening, Dave. It's been quite a week. Lot going on. I got replacement. Starlink finally sent me a whole new everything today, and it's up and running. New dish, new cable, new modem. New cable is 25 feet shorter than the old cable. So it's all hooked up by Wi-Fi. So a little bit of work, but back on the air. Yay.
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 A lot of debugging this week. Got the loader for the synthesizer chip running so that the FPGA can take the output of the clock builder program, which tells the synthesizer how to create everything it needs, and program the synthesizer chip. That is working. Figured out with John Ackerman's help how to configure the F9T module. And so it's now outputting 4.096 megahertz to the synthesizer chip and 1 PPS on the PPS output. And all that's set in flash on the chip now, so it boots up. Never did resolve yet how to talk to I2C on the F9T. That's a later issue. The synthesizer is not putting out frequency, and we tracked it down today to a bias problem on the clock driver to the synthesizer. It has a couple of open emitter outputs, and there's no DC path to ground for those outputs, so they don't do anything. And emitter coupled logic is kind of a lost art. That takes me back many, many years when I used to design ECL stuff. At any rate, making good progress. Spent some time looking at the memory model for the FPGA. Kwong and I had a couple of emails, and I finally found where everything is documented in maps. And right now, the FPGA is executing everything out of the DDR3 RAM that's on the development kit. The current load takes about 360 kilobytes and that's the C code and the memory and data area. And so we had a 2 kilobyte on-chip RAM, and as best as I can tell, that was included in the development project and never actually used by anything anywhere. And so I'm going to try taking it out and see if it still runs. So good progress. I'm getting some ideas on how to boot it up. My guess is right now that we'll end up writing the entire image to the QSPI flash on the board. And then at boot time, we'll copy the image from QSPI over to RAM. And the reason for that is that when the processor executes out of RAM, it's much, much faster than executing out of the flash memory. And there's support built into the tools to do that. But right now, it's very convenient to let the tools download everything to RAM, because if you want to do something like set a breakpoint, that's easy in RAM. You can't set a breakpoint in Flash because you don't have read-write control of Flash. You have to erase an entire page of Flash and then rewrite it. And of course, if you happen to be executing there, then it doesn't work. So right now, just downloading and running out of RAM seems to be the easiest way to do it. We did have a real busy email thread this morning, and we have a couple of proposed approaches for reworking the board. The good news is no chips have to come off the board, no traces have to get cut. We have to add some resistors and some wires. And there's a couple of ways to do it. I'll probably see if somebody can figure out how to do it and take some good pictures. The parts, there's a couple of big capacitors, big in this case, meaning 04, 02 capacitors, which are right next to some 02, 01 resistors. An 04, 02 is big enough you can get a scope probe on it if you're real careful. And so we may need to get a little help reworking. The clock module, I'm getting the sense is getting pretty close. And so we've got control of it. The I2Cs are working. We can get the parts program. I think we're just a couple of reworks away, perhaps, from having the clock module going. So if that's so, it would be a real good thing. So feeling good about it. It's been a busy week debugging. So back to the group.
Well, fine business. So I think I've called on everybody. Has anybody not been called? Well, at that point, we're open for general discussion.
I'll just mention I tried getting SAQ, the Anderson alternator transmitter the other day too. It was below my noise floor because my main VLF antenna seems to have failed. It's got some really old wire in it, and I think it opened up. But I was able to get NAA without any problem. Of course, it's a megawatt transmitter a couple 100 miles away. But I did get a nice QSL card from them for having tried. And that's nice of them. You don't have to have actually received it. You just have to say that you tried. And
Is that like a participation award?
Pretty much, yes. But they do appreciate the feedback. And yeah, as Jonathan says, if they do their annual Christmas transmission, we'll give that another try. And I've got to get on the 630 meter band, see what I can hear on there. And that shouldn't be if there's a bogey signal around, shouldn't be too hard to DF it.
It's on for 2 minutes at a time, and that's various spacings between the 2 minute segments.
Yeah, well, that's a good Fox transmitter hunt. But
It's fairly loud out here at Flagstaff. So it must
Yeah.
be not too far away. It's a lot louder than the, what is it, KE7A in the Dallas area, who's heard by everybody.
Now, is it actually modulating?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I can't
Okay, it's
tell.
just a dead carrier.
It appears to be
On and off.
no, well, there's no whisper on it. I
Uh-huh.
don't know. The timing is correct for whisper. You know, it starts right on the minute, and 2 minutes later it quits. So
Well,
there's that, but it's just
well,
kind of,
that band is so long distance. Maybe you can find a few people that can DF it from different locations.
we can try. I know it showed up here pretty quickly, and it's fairly strong. My guess is it's fairly close to me.
Yeah.
But trying to triangulate on that band, I would imagine would be difficult because you don't have many directive antennas. I wouldn't think.
Oh, well, actually anything, if you'd like tune down an AM radio with a loop stick in it.
Okay.
And in fact, I've got my Grundig Yacht Boy, I guess it is, my YB400 would DF it. It tunes down there. It has the long wave band.
I'm winding a big ferroid rod for an antenna.
Mm-hmm. Well, good
Anyway,
luck with that.
I also listened for that SAQ, but nothing heard out here in Arizona.
Yeah, that'd be a little far from it. I don't remember what their output power was, something like 100 kilowatts or something.
Wow.
But certainly not the same as the megawatt that NAA is.
Well, the submarine transmission stations were very obvious, as was 60 kilohertz WWVB.
Right. Yeah, you're a lot closer than we are. We're
Oh,
deep
yeah.
fringe on 60 kilohertz.
Oh, it was strong here. Strongest signal on the band.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you didn't get a chance to receive it, I watched it live on YouTube, and it takes a lot for me to get me to watch something on YouTube, and it was fascinating.
It was, yes.
Something that old that's just running like a Swiss watch, I guess you'd say, or Swedish watch. But
Well, it was amazingly complicated what they have to do to have the transmitter running. But also, well, of course, what's amazing about it is that it's an alternator that they just connect to the antenna. I noticed them tuning it up, which meant they were spinning up a flywheel to get the 17.2 kilohertz right.
I want to look into that a little more. So what is that? It's an alternator that it acts as the radio, or the alternator?
Yeah,
that
it's an
radio?
actual AC generator that generates frequencies in the tens of kilohertz range instead of 60 hertz, which most alternators do. It's got a lot more poles than a AC power alternator, and it's designed to connect directly to the antenna and generate power.
I would guess the antenna must be pretty large.
Yeah,
yes. I'm
not sure.
Very large towers.
Dang. I'm not sure if I wasn't paying attention or not. What was the name of it?
SAQ, Sierra Alpha Quebec, is the call signs.
No, I'm saying like the type of radio.
It's
a
Anderson alternator transmitter.
Huh. Okay. I want to look into that some more. Thank you.
Yeah,
I just threw
Those go
the
back to about 1915 or so, doesn't
Right.
it?
yeah, 1910s, 20s, somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
one of the earliest.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there was one of those at Sonderstrom as well. When I was working in Greenland, there was what they called the powerhouse up on the top of the hill, but it actually was an old VLF transmitter that I think was one of those guys. And the generator was still there, but certainly not functional. All the towers are gone, but the footings are all still there. Funny how they thought that those were the frequencies that would propagate. And gave us hams the high band. 200 meters and down, as they say.
Yep, rather fortunate. And of course, now the really useful stuff is all VHF, UHF, and up. And all the satellites.
Well, I'm grateful that our HF bands don't have the bandwidth for 6G, or they'd be grabbing them.
Don't know how many of you were also amateur astronomers, but it's getting kind of troubling with all of this darn lights turning on up with all of these satellites they're putting up in the sky.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm on approach to the local airport, so I've got a couple of really, really good overhead flights right through the field of view of my 14-inch.
Yeah, it's getting annoying how many satellites are up there, and doesn't seem to be any way to control it.
Somebody with a huge net.
Yeah.
Now this, John Ackerman sent me this today. And it is a dual band GPS antenna. And it's got the choke ring built in to eliminate low angle multipath.
Mhm.
And so it's a survey grade antenna, but it's the dual band. So one of these days, I'll get up on the roof and bolt this in and hook it into the clock module. And John says this thing puts out a lot of power. So he said you can take the output, run it through a splitter, and feed every GPS receiver in the neighborhood without any problem.
Yeah, that's the type they use for tracking the continental drift.
Yep.
And one man's noise is another man's signal, also the total electron content.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it has a type in connector on the bottom of it there, Tom?
It's a TNC.
Oh, is it? Okay.
If I can get it close enough there to see, it's a TNC connector.
Okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a Leica antenna. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've got Leica binoculars.
Yeah, I got an antenna many, many years ago with a TNC. It's the only TNC I own.
Yeah, well, we use a lot of it. TNCs. GPS is one of them. Iridium is all pretty much TNC.
They're good connectors. I had a handy talkie with a TNC connector on it. And they're very rugged. It's interesting, the RF sections of a BNC, an N, and a TNC are all compatible. The only difference is the outside housing. And so the TNCs I found to be pretty rugged.
It looks
So I
a little.
listened to a Sarah talk this past weekend, and they had a guest speaker or fellow that was talking. It's Dr. Wayne McCain, who was talking about a CubeSat project that he's working on, and he's going to have the kids that are at a school that he's involved with in Alabama are going to have a VLF receiver on this satellite supposedly. And he mentioned you a couple of times, Nathaniel. I guess he's talked to you or hooked in with you a little bit on this too. So anyway, it was an interesting thing. They have a long ways to go to get everything working and get it up there, but it was an interesting talk. He's a pretty energetic fellow.
That's great. Who is speaking?
His name was Wayne McCain.
Wayne McCain. I'm not sure. I know I heard about this project the other day. I don't know Wayne McCain.
Okay. Well, he mentioned your name, so maybe he's just been keeping up with you.
And he's at Georgia Tech.
No, it's at Athens, Alabama. It's like a business school, really, I believe, more than a technical school, but they have some technical programs.
Sounds like University of North Alabama, UNA, Athens.
I thought I had in my notes here the name of the school exactly, but I don't see it. They were talking about the amount of power. It's going to be a 3U satellite because they visited with Jeff Caruth at in Kentucky, and he suggested they wouldn't get enough power from a 1U, and 1Us are limited because of the amount of solar cell space they have. And I made the comment, I've done some work with some of the ARR with the AMSAT guys recently and worrying about power. And then also I'm putting in a generator here, and I visited with the local electric co-op guy, and people don't appreciate solar cells and exactly how much power they can get. And they think they can get a lot, but they can't. And people in general hope that they're going to put in a system and get off the grid, but it doesn't quite get them there. And the local co-op guy, sounds like to me, they call him up and sort of blame him for not giving them all the information they needed before they purchased some expensive system, you know. But it was interesting talk that he gave. It sounds like everybody's pretty quiet tonight.
Yep.
I think so.
I think I'm
Trying to
gonna go
update
ahead
something on
and-
GitHub.
I'm gonna check out myself and go
Hmm.
take care of a couple of things that are broken here.
Hey, Dev has showed up. I don't know if he has anything to report.
I think you wanted to talk to me,
Okay,
so you sent me a direct message. So
well, I'm gonna check out. I'll say 73 and hope to see everybody next week.
thanks, Steve.
next
73.
week.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving
Yeah,
all.
have a good Thanksgiving.
7-3, happy Thanksgiving.
Hey,
73.
everybody stay safe.
Happy
You too.
Thanksgiving.
73.